6 easy, delicious crockpot meals that we enjoyed, and I hope that you will as well. As always, I leave the links to the recipes down in the description box. That way it's easy for you to find those if you want to make these. And let's go ahead and get started making these delicious crockpot meals. This first recipe I'm sharing with you is a slow cooker chicken and rice, and this one is super easy to make and very filling. It does make a lot. So you will need 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. I'm just using 2 large chicken breasts that I had in my freezer. And then you will also need to season that up. It doesn't call for it, but I always season my chicken. You need 1 cup of long grain rice, and I'm using parboiled rice. I find that it cooks a little bit better, so I don't have to worry about rice being undercooked or anything. It works great in recipes like this. You'll need 1 small onion chopped up, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 2 stalks of celery chopped up, and then 3 cups of carrots. You want those peeled and chopped up into small little pieces because I find that it cooks a little bit better in the crock pot. It doesn't take as long. 4 tablespoons of butter, and I'm using the rotisserie chicken seasoning and the garlic powder to season my chicken. As I said, it doesn't call for it, but I like to season any type of meat that I'm using, and that one's a really good one to try. And garlic powder is just the staple in all of my cooking. So those are 2 good seasonings. And for the seasonings that the recipe actually calls for, it's a tablespoon of oregano, a tablespoon of pepper, which I would use less, and a teaspoon of salt. I used a little less salt just because this rotisserie seasoning has salt in it, so I didn't want to have it too salty. Then 2 cups of chicken broth. You will also need, and I'm using low sodium for that, 1 cup of cheddar cheese shredded and 1 cup of sweet peas. You want to save this till the end of the recipe, so I'm going to put that back in the freezer and put the cheese back in the fridge. Now, my chicken's already in my crock pot, but you can add it after if you want. But I'm just leaving it in there so I didn't have to dirty another plate or anything. So, as I said, season your chicken. Then I'm adding the onions, the celery, the carrots, and the minced garlic. And as I mentioned, you can put this in before you add the chicken to it, so it's a little easier to stir. Then add the rice, and then add your broth, and then you want to just stir it just to get that rice into the liquid. You definitely want to make sure that the rice is covered with the broth. So once you have that, then I'm going to take and add my seasonings to it. As I mentioned, I would definitely lessen the pepper in this. It was definitely too much. I've used pepper a lot in recipes, and I have used a tablespoon in cooking before, but for this particular recipe, it was just too much. So I would definitely either cut it in half or even add just a teaspoon maybe to it, and then you can adjust later, when it's on your plate. But for us, a tablespoon was just too much for this recipe. Add your butter, and then just get that into the liquid as much as you can. Then cover this and cook it on high for about 3.5 to 4 hours, or until the rice has absorbed all of the chicken broth. Now, I would have preferred to have had just a little bit more broth in it, so maybe 10 minutes before it's cooked, and you want your chicken to be cooked through. You can chop the chicken up into little pieces and then add the peas to it. Now, I did add the peas while this was already basically cooked, but if they had a little bit more liquid, I think I would have preferred that. So I cooked it about 10 more minutes with the peas to get the peas to defrost in this, but I would definitely put it in maybe 10 minutes before it's completely done. Then I added the cheese on top and let that melt. And then I just plated it up. And like I said, this was a good recipe, and we could eat it even with that pepper, but the pepper was just a little too much. So definitely lessen it to maybe a half a tablespoon or a teaspoon, and then adjust as you go. But it's definitely a good recipe, so definitely try it. Just lessen the pepper.
This next one is a slow cooker spaghetti sauce. We really enjoyed this one, and I really enjoyed it because it made a lot. So I was able to freeze what was left over. We did eat it the next day, but then what was left over I froze and had it for 2 more meals. So it's great budget friendly. You need spaghetti, or if you want any other type of pasta, you can use that as well. The recipe did not call for the diced tomatoes, but I did decide to add this to it. So I used the one with the basil, garlic, and oregano. And I think that's a 14.5 ounce can. So I used 2 of those. This did stretch this recipe. 2 tomato sauce cans, and those are 29 ounces. Then you need 2 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes. So 2 and 2 for each of those. For the seasonings, you will need 2 teaspoons of salt, but I lessened the salt for this as well because I watch our salt content. You can add the 2 teaspoons if you want. Then it called for 1 teaspoon of pepper, and 2 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. You will also need 2 bay leaves. And then you need some Italian sausage, and you can use sweet, just Italian sausage, hot sausage, whatever you like. You could even use ground beef in this. Whatever type of meat you like to use in your spaghetti, you can use. And you also need a tablespoon of brown sugar and a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. I don't usually add that to my tomato sauce, so this was a little different for me, but I will say we did enjoy it. I'm browning up. The first thing you want to do is brown up your meat, whatever you're using, until it is completely cooked. So just break it into small pieces and cook it thoroughly, and then just drain off any grease that it may have. And then to your crock pot, you're going to start adding all your sauces. So I'm adding the tomato sauce. Then I'm going to add the crushed tomatoes. Then I'm adding those diced tomatoes. As I said, that's added to this recipe. It wasn't in the recipe, but it worked out great. I'm just going to stir all of that together. Plus those diced tomatoes give it a little texture. Then I drained off all the grease that was in the sausage, and then I'm just going to add that to the crock pot. And as I said, you can use whatever you want for this, whatever your favorite meat is to use in spaghetti sauce, whatever your family enjoys, that's what you would want to use. And I just took the casings off for that. Cover it, cook this on high for 5 hours or on low for 7 to 8. And I did cook this on low all day, just let it go. And once it was done, this is what it'll look like. I will say I will add more meat to it next time. Instead of a pound, I may add 2 pounds because it does make a lot. And I just wanted to show here, this is a thick sauce, but as you can see on the bottom where the noodles are, where the spaghetti is, it looks like it's watery, but it's really not. It is a thicker sauce than I find when I buy jar sauce. And you can see here, I'm just kind of showing you, it might look liquidy, but it's really not. Once you mix all of the spaghetti and everything together, as you can see in that video I have there, it's a thick sauce. So if you like a thicker sauce, this is one to try. This next one is a slow cooker pulled pork, and this is a really good one to try as well because you can do a lot of things with this. It can be used in tostadas, in tacos, pulled pork sandwiches, so many different ways to use it. But you'll need 4 pounds of pork shoulder, which is either called a picnic roast or a pork butt roast. So that's what you would need for this one. And 4 pounds worked out pretty good for this. That's about how big they are. And any type of barbecue sauce that you like. I had the sweet onion barbecue sauce in my pantry, so I decided to use it for this. And this one was really good. It's the first time we tried that one, and we really did like that. So use whatever your favorite barbecue sauce is. Then you're going to need some root beer, and our favorite is Barks root beer. So you're going to need about 12 ounces. I have about a 20 ounce here, so I'm going to use some of that. and I'll drink the rest. Then I'm going to add some seasonings to this that it doesn't call for, but those are the seasonings I'm going to use. Some garlic powder, some pork seasoning, and some black pepper. Basically, very simple, easy. It calls for about 1.5 teaspoons of salt and about a teaspoon of black pepper. So just, you can choose how much you want to add. So I put that into the crock pot. The first thing I'm going to do is season up my meat, which I do all the time. No matter what the recipe says, I always season whatever I'm cooking. Whether it's chicken, pork, beef, anything like that. So I added the garlic powder, some black pepper, and you do want to get the bottom and the sides to your meat as well. So I'm adding this pork rub, which is really, really good. So this helped to give it a lot of flavor, and like I said, I do get it on the sides, but I'm just kind of showing you here. And you can add whatever you like. So just add the seasonings that you and your family like. I'm adding the root beer, and I'm just pouring, enough to give me about 12 ounces or so in there. I'm going to cover this, and I will cook this for about 8 to 10 hours on low. You want to make sure that that pork is tender. And then I'm going to start to shred it and put it back into the crock pot. I'm going to add my barbecue sauce over that, and then just add as much or as little as you like, however much barbecue sauce you like. I like to have it a little saucy, so I did add a little bit more to it. You can add the whole thing if you want. And I do shred up any big pieces that I find in there, and we just had these on some hamburger buns. This was really delicious. Really did enjoy this one. Super, super easy. And as I said, there's many other ways you can use it in tacos, tostadas. You can wrap them in like a flour tortilla, anything. So really good recipe. You can even serve this over rice if you want. So definitely a great recipe to try, and versatile. Slow cooker Parmesan stuffed bell peppers is another recipe I love. Now this is the first time I'm actually making these in the crock pot. I usually make this recipe in the oven, and I have had this on my channel before, but I decided to try it. I wanted to try it for myself in the crock pot to see if this would work. And the recipe actually calls for about 4 bell peppers. You want to cut those in half and seed them, get the seeds out and everything. I was trying to use a little bit more, but I don't think that worked out well in this one. So you will need 1.5 cups of your favorite marinara sauce. You need about a tablespoon of chopped up fresh parsley. You're going to need just a little bit of the chicken broth. You will need 3 cups of mozzarella cheese and 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. Depending on how many bell peppers you're going to use, you may have to adjust how much of the cheese you'll need. And for this, I ended up doing, I think it was 4.5 bell peppers is what I was able to get. You need 1 chicken breast. You want to have that chopped up, cooked, and I do season it with some of that rotisserie chicken seasoning that I have, and also some garlic powder. But I added a little bit more chicken to this than I had, and like I said, garlic powder is my staple for cooking. Now I first take the mozzarella and the Parmesan cheese, mix that up together. Then I'm going to add 1.5 cups of the marinara sauce. You may have to adjust and add a little bit more. You'll know when you go to mix it up if you need to add just a little bit more to it. So I want to make sure that that is fully coated with the marinara sauce. Then I add the fresh parsley to this, mix that in, and you just want to make sure it's mixed throughout. And now I'm going to add that chicken to it, make sure it's cooked, and just stir it well until everything is fully combined. And I do add a little bit more marinara sauce. So as I said, you may want to do that. That's completely up to you. I just like to have a little bit more sauce in it after I add the chicken. And then I just thoroughly combine that. Then I start to stuff my bell peppers, and I try to fill them as much as I can with that mixture. because I want to make sure that there's enough in there. But then I'm going to take my crock pot and add the chicken broth. I add about maybe a half a cup or so into this. Usually when I do this in the oven, I add about a fourth of a cup. Now I'm going to put my bell peppers down in here. And the chicken broth is what's going to help to soften up the bell peppers. But I add on the mozzarella cheese to this first. I will add some more on top, but I didn't want to overcrowd the crock pot because I was a little worried about it. So I only added, another, 2 more halves to it. So I had 1, 2, 3.5 bell peppers I did cook in the crock pot, but I was worried by stacking them, too many, it might not cook right. So the rest of the bell peppers that I did have on the side, I filled those and put those in the oven like I normally do, and cooked it that way. And then I cooked this on low for about 4 to 6 hours until the peppers were tender. You can cook them longer if you need to, just, figure out how long you need to cook them. But this is what it looked like. I would definitely add more of the bell peppers in it next time because I think it worked out fine. And then I just added some parsley on top. This was really delicious, same as if I put it in the oven. So really do enjoy these. And we had some angel hair pasta with it. But like I said, the bell pepper alone, is really, really delicious. And I'm really happy how these turned out in the crock pot. So that's another way I can make these stuffed bell peppers. Slow cooker Mississippi chicken is another recipe that I tried. And if you like the Mississippi pot roast, I think you'll love this. I've made Mississippi pork chops before on my channel, and those were really good. So I wanted to try the chicken. I don't know how, I've never tried it with the chicken before, but I'm trying it now. So you're going to need about 3 pounds of boneless. It says boneless, skinless chicken. I have the ones with the bones in the chicken, so that worked out fine. And you're going to need 1 pack of ranch seasoning, 1 pack of brown gravy mix. I like the low sodium. I have an extra pack there just in case I need it, but I did not. So just to let you know, I did not have to use that other pack. Then you need about 5 to 10 pepperoncinis, and that's what makes this your Mississippi pork roast or chicken. So I'm adding some garlic powder and some rotisserie chicken again in this recipe. So like I said, those are my go-tos for now. And you need about 8 tablespoons of butter. Now I do season my chicken, as I said before, with the garlic powder and the rotisserie chicken. I don't add a ton of it because I don't want to take away from the brown gravy and the ranch dressing, but I do add just a little bit to season that. And I do add a little bit on the bottom of the chicken as well. Then I'm going to add the brown gravy mix, and you just want to sprinkle it over the top. Make sure you get it all, on each piece of chicken. And then you're going to add the ranch seasoning over that, and just continue to make sure you get it all over each piece. And then I take those pepperoncinis and I just add, I think I might have had 9, I'm not really sure, but I just added those. I added what I had left in that jar and just spaced them out, and then cut the butter into little tabs and put those all over the chicken. You can cook this on high for 4 hours or on low for 6 to 7, and this is what you end up with. Really delicious chicken. So if you like the Mississippi pot roast, you will love this. And very simple and easy to make. And we also had it with just some mixed vegetables that I had in the freezer and some mashed potatoes. And this is a ranch mashed potatoes Idahoan has now. So we had that with it, really good. And you can also, if you want to, you can shred this chicken up and serve it over rice or put it on a sandwich, whatever you would like. So really delicious. Definitely want to try if you have never tried a Mississippi pot roast or anything. This is one you can try with the chicken. Also, slow cooker chicken Alfredo. This is the last one I have to share with you, and this was a very good one as well. You'll need some chicken breasts. It called for about I think it was 3 chicken breasts, and I cut these in half because these were large, and I felt like the thinner they were, the better and quicker they would cook, since I was doing this a little later in the day. So I have some garlic powder, onion powder, and rotisserie chicken seasoning as well. Like I said, this is my theme throughout this whole video. So I seasoned that up with those seasonings. You'll need a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, a 1/2 cup of sun-dried tomatoes. You want the julienne style cut. Also, it called for a 15-ounce jar of roasted garlic Alfredo sauce. This is, I think, a 22-ounce, and I think the larger jar worked out better than a smaller jar. You'll need 1 cup of baby spinach, and you want to tear those in half. Also, some fettuccine, and then just have your chicken in the crock pot. You don't have to season it. I did. So just however you want to do it. Add the Prego sauce or whatever Alfredo sauce you're using. 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, which I forgot to mention. Then add your Parmesan cheese, the sun-dried tomatoes, and you want to just stir this in to make sure that, you know, the sun-dried tomatoes and everything get mixed in to the Alfredo sauce. And you can also, like I said, add the chicken in after you mix everything up if you'd like to do that. Cover it. You will cook this on high for 4 hours or low for 6 hours. Once it is cooked, you want to put that spinach in your refrigerator until it's ready to add in at the very last minute. Then just spread your spinach over the top of the chicken, and then you will stir this in to mix it, make sure everything, you know, gets mixed in. But you want to have this kind of wilt a little bit, so I cooked it for maybe 10 more minutes. So I tried to make sure I put it in before, you know, all of the sauce and everything kind of evaporated or, you know, got thicker. Then I just served it over the cooked fettuccine, and this was really a delicious meal. Always love this type of meal. Very, very good and filling. So if you like chicken Alfredo, this one I think you will love. You can also add some bacon into this if you'd like, so that's another option. But really a delicious meal. And I did feel like it needed just a little extra seasoning, so I went to my go-to of Tony Chachere's, and that helped add that seasoning into it. I hope that this video on crockpot recipes gave you some meal inspiration, and maybe get that crockpot out that you haven't used in a while and start making some delicious crockpot meals for your family. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in seeing more like it, please click that subscribe button and the notification bell. That will notify you when I post new videos. I would absolutely love to have you here and become a part of my YouTube family. So just click that subscribe button. It's free. I hope to see you there in the comments, and I hope that everyone has a blessed day and a great week ahead. God bless y'all.